see if we can get this party started. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Sorry it took me a little bit of time to kind of get things together today. My swage block got stuck, and we're going to need it today for or to shape the point on our drift. So I had to dislodge it, and then took me a little bit of time to do that. So we are ready to go now, and yeah, so. It's about a 50-pound block of cast iron, and it works pretty well. So we're going to, it was stuck in there like on its back, and we're going to be using it on its end. So I had to get it out, and I didn't want you guys to have to see me struggle with it. So I did that prior to turning on the stream. So it's all ready to go when we're ready to use it. So we have an ad in about a minute and a half. I'm going to start up the forge and get the drift heating while that goes. So hopefully we can do that pretty quickly. We are back in the mailbox today. All right. So welcome to the stream today, guys. I'm so glad to be here. It was kind of a weird day today and a little bit yesterday. I was a little discouraged because I post a lot of my stuff up on YouTube at the end of, I make the VODs, and I make a whole bunch of like shorts and things like that. And my shorts for the past 2 days haven't done very well. But it's not really my fault necessarily. According to my analytics, for whatever reason, I only have, they only showed my videos to about 70 people each. And that is not a lot of people. So I'm a little bit disappointed, and it's a little discouraging. But you guys are always so encouraging, and you're always there, and so it makes me feel better that there are people who actually enjoy watching me and stuff. So thank you for being here for me. Alrighty. Now that that's over, I'm done with my little pity party for the moment. We'll get on with things. So welcome to the stream. So I was looking at our drift today, and when I looked at it from this direction, it looks like we're a little bit wonky, and I want to straighten that up. This side, there's still a little bit of a curl or a curve, but it's not nearly as bad. I still want to straighten this guy out, and then once we straighten it out, then we're going to bring over the swage block and start working on the point of our heart, or not heart. It could be for a heart, but no, it's for a teardrop. So I'm going to stick this in the forge, and we're going to heat it up so we can get started. I'd be sad if you weren't here streaming. Well, thanks for that. It's always encouraging coming out here and, seeing all of you guys. We have an amazing community, and I'm just so grateful for everybody here. And of the 70 people that were shown my video, 52 of them clicked on it and watched it. So that is also very encouraging. It's just that it would be nice if YouTube showed my video to more people. Oh, we're in the middle of an ad. I didn't even notice that. I'm sorry, guys. So when this ad is over, I will start working on, or not working, but I'll talk to you guys a little bit about the housekeeping items that I have today. And it looks like the ad is over now. So today I posted the very first quad state edited video. It is a long form video. It's just over 7 minutes long, and it's kind of a little bit of the history and of quad state and how it's functioning now, how it's growing, and kind of what quad state means to several of the people that I was able to talk to. If you guys were here the day that that Saturday that we streamed live, a lot of the people I was asking, what does quad state mean to you? And I had every intention of putting them all together in like a little string compilation, and so that's part of it as well. So that came out at 10 a.m. and so it's there for you guys to check out. Over the next couple of weeks, I will be doing more editing of the footage that I shot. But I'm going to be doing every other video will be a quad state related video. So this week is the initial quad state video. Next week's video will be on the stake flipper. I've already got that video all edited and everything, so that one is ready to go, except there's one shot I want to get this weekend. I'm going to clean up all of the grill tools, and I'm going to have a cookout, and we're going to take some video of us actually using those tools to put at the end of the video. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's an excuse to make some steaks, right? I mean, I feel like I don't need an excuse to make steaks, but, you know, as long as there's an excuse. So after that, it will be another quad state video. So they will be alternating between quad state videos and then videos here in the shop, so that we don't end up with like a large backlog like we did previously when we did Indiana and Missouri's conferences. So hopefully it'll all work out, and you know, they'll all be really nice looking videos. I was pretty happy with how this video turned out. There was lots of good transitions and some B-roll and things like that. We have decided that we want to make some what they call lower thirds, and that's what you see when you're watching the news and they have like those little bars that have, you know, the person who they're talking to's name or like other kinds of information about the newscast and stuff like that. That's what they call a lower third. So I don't have any graphics for that for our videos, and I think we definitely need some. So I think we're gonna make some and see what we can do with that. And it'll also be a good thing that we might be able to use for the stream as well, for things like, you know, the propane sponsor or things like that. So we're gonna take a look and see about making some graphics. And I want to keep everything relatively clean, but I think that some fancy graphics would do us good. How we doing? Looks like we're starting to get warm. But not quite yet. That was weird. My chat disconnected for half of a second. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. It doesn't look like I did. So today, like I said, we are going to continue working on our axe drift. Hopefully we will finish that today. That is the goal. I'm not positive that we will finish the very last of it, but I'm hoping that we do. So that on Friday we can start working on processing some material for our next axe. A week from Friday, my plan is to take a break from the axe, because I think that one's going to take me about a week and a half to 2 weeks, somewhere in there. And we're going to work on learning how to properly forge weld. I have had a lot of issues with forge welding over the past couple of attempts. So I think I need to spend a little bit of time just focusing on that, doing some really simple forge welds with just mild steel to mild steel. So I have a couple different projects in mind that I'd like to try. One of those projects is a basket, like a basket twist. So that's when you forge weld the end of like 4 rods together, and then you twist it, and then you untwist it, and it creates like a basket form. Occasionally you'll see something like that with like a marble inside of it, and I think they look really, really neat, and it's a good overview of forge welding. So hopefully we'll be able to get that. Another thing that I'd like to do with our forge welds, a project that I have in mind, is maybe working a little bit on like an animal head. A lot of times when people are making the muzzles of their animals, they will half cut or a little section of bar and then fold it over and forge weld it back on itself, and that creates the muzzle of the animal that they're trying to make. So we might take a look at doing some of those. And of course we're just going to do, 2 bars that have nothing special about them. We're just going to tack weld them together with forge welding, just to make sure that I'm capable of doing it. Basket twist could make a cool Christmas ornament if it's not too big. Exactly. I think they look really, really cool, and I've never actually done one. I've done a few multi-strand forge welds in the past. I'm not amazingly good at them. So we'll see if I can manage to get it taken care of and done. It always looks so much easier in the videos that I watch about forge welding, but I feel like those are the people who have like sat there and practiced and practiced and practiced to the point where they can just do it, So we're gonna see if I can get to that point. So yes. I'm gonna take a look at my cameras real fast. I need to make sure that I did a thing. Is there anything on this? And I don't know if there's anything on that, so I don't know. I think I should probably I haven't been doing this too long, so I think I'll just reformat this card. And rely on the greeting from the VOD. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get started. We're going to start on the anvil, and we're going to start by straightening out our drift. So let's do this. I've got about a ½ inch of play right now. And what I mean when I say I have a ½ inch of play is that it is a ½ inch wider than I want it to be in the end. And that gives us enough space to be able to develop that point on the end. Okay. We look down this piece like so. It looks relatively straight now. So I'm going to flip it around. We're going to heat up the other end just to make sure that that end is also straight. We've got a little bit of a twist in there, and I want to take that out. Then we're going to work on the swage block. All right. So yesterday, I went over to the swage block, and I don't know, or if you guys remember, I kind of broke the swage or the press on, what was it, Monday? Yeah, today is Wednesday, so that would have been Monday. So I broke the press on Monday, and the piece that I broke off was I have two pieces of angle iron welded onto the top die plate, and that is so that it kind of holds the dies in place as, or so that I can use them, right? Well, the back end broke off because there was just so much pressure, and the welds were not very good to begin with. So I spent a little bit of time yesterday and welding everything back on. So not only did I weld the top grabber plate back on, I welded the bottom two back on as well. So we should have a much easier time with the press. I no longer have to use the vice grip to hold the dies on. So that is really exciting. And that's kind of the thing, once you have to fix something because if you can't use it until you do fix it, then it prompts you to fix more things, right? So the press should be functional, or quite functional at this point. And we shall see how well it works. There is a thing that I am slightly concerned about the top die. It used to be that this one right here, I was able to use a piece of angle iron to kind of wedge the die in, and for some reason it like got a little bit weird, and I can no longer use the angle iron. So I had to find another piece of steel that would kind of fit in there and wedge it in. So hopefully that works long term. If not, we'll have to look at it again and see what we can do to fix that. So that's my only concern with my major fix. And I did I'm a lot better at welding than when I built this guy. So fingers crossed, it actually functions better than it did before. So I'm kind of looking forward to using it. We'll see if I need to. So how have you guys been the last couple of days? Like I said, I was a little bit shaken earlier this morning, but I think I'm all right now. And I did some extra work and pretty happy with how my video turned out. So overall, a little bit more than so-so, or a little bit happier than so-so. if I'm, rating my day, it's probably like a 6 or a 7. So today, once again, we are using the mailbox, and the reason we're using the mailbox is because such a small forge is going to heat things a lot faster, and it's going to get a lot hotter. So the big forge is just so big that it takes a long time to heat sometimes when we've got large pieces of steel, or like thick pieces of steel. Not too bad. Might go metal detecting for the first time after work. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. Metal detecting. I've always actually wanted a metal detector because, like, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with treasure hunting. And so you dig in the sand and, like, in the or the sandbox, in the yard, and you're just, like, picking out little things that you've lost over the years or, like, the days. And I always thought that a metal detector would be so much fun to go to the beach and it'd be like treasure hunting. So I hope that you have fun and you find some good treasure. And I mean, even if you don't find good, like, valuable treasure, any metal that the metal detector might find, you could probably use it for smithing, right? Have like a found object piece, recycled steels and stuff. That sounds like so much fun. That would make a really cool video if I could get a hold of a metal detector. I doubt I'll find any gold or silver, but I'd love to find some raw iron. Oh, raw iron would be amazing. Yeah. That would be like finding gold for a blacksmith, right? All right, let's do another heat. All right, I think we're gonna do one more heat on this side. Kind of even this out a little bit. We're getting there. One more heat should do it. True. Usually the stuff I find is old railroad metal. That makes sense because, I mean, aren't you in Iowa? There's a lot of railroad stuff in the Midwest, and specifically like in Iowa and that area. Lots and lots of railroads. So it would be so cool for you to find some stuff. The other place that I think would be really easy to find some like actual metallic objects would be along the Mississippi River. I know that's probably a ways away from you, but I grew up on the Mississippi River, and there are some areas of it that I feel like would be a bountiful harvest of metallic objects. Yeah, two big Union Pacific yards to the east and west. Yeah, I have a buddy that actually works at one of the he works for like the rail or like this company that kind of fixes trains. So he like when a train car gets wrecked, his company will kind of salvage it and weld it back together and make it useful again when like a train derails or when it breaks. And he kind of lives in your area, I think. Electromotive, maybe. He welds them back together. I'm not entirely sure exactly where he works. But I do know that he was able to get me these huge, like, bearings, I guess. And they're amazing. These things right here. They're like, this is actually a bearing. I cut this guy in half, but it took like 2 bandsaw belts to get it to come apart, and it took me a really long time. But this thing is like hard tool steel, and it's a bearing. It's used in locomotives somewhere along the road. I'm not exactly sure where, but he got a bunch of them, and he was giving them away. So I got a couple of them. Very, very convenient for a makeshift anvil. Wow, I'd love to get some train coil bearings. Is that what that is? I don't know for sure. Like I said, I don't know where it comes from, but I know that it is a bearing of some type. And it comes from a train somewhere. Or I guess some train coil springs. Yeah, that would be so cool because they'd be so thick. At one point, I did actually have a semi-truck coil spring from like a really, really old truck. And the thing was like this big around, which was really, really nice. I ended up turning them into my rapier blades that I made. I made 3 blades out of 1 spring, which I thought was a really good deal because I think I paid like $20 for it at our local scrapyard. Or I guess Metal Supply, they also like take scrap, so it's kind of a combination of like new stock and recycled stock that you can get a hold of. And it was beautiful. It took me quite a bit of time to kind of unravel it. I had to use my coal forge to do it because it wouldn't fit in my gas forge at the time. So I ended up burning it a couple times. And decarburizing it a little bit in those areas. So I ended up having to cut those off. But I was, like I said, I was able to get 3 blades out of it. One was kind of a shorter blade, but it worked. So yeah, those are beautiful. Like any kind of spring steel that you can get a hold of, like a thicker spring steel, you can make so much cool stuff with it. All right, let's do our second heat on the anvil. trying to even out that taper on this edge. Got to be a little bit careful. These tongs aren't really designed for this. All right, now if we look down it, it's not too bad. I think we can make that work. Alrighty. I'm going to turn this around because I want to start on this end right here. We're going to put that point in there in the profile. So what I'm going to do is there are some V-groove slots that I have on my swage block. What we're going to do is we're going to stick this direction into the V-groove, and we're going to hammer directly on that top to kind of give ourselves a teardrop shape as opposed to the like square shape that we've got currently. Unwinding springs without a vise is interesting. Mine were a little bigger than a trampoline spring. Most of it will become hairpins. That would be really good material for a hairpin. You can also make some like brooches and things like that. Have you ever seen the designs that they make for Viking cloak pins? Those are really cool, and they're very similar in like, I guess, technique, to hairpins like you've been making. Instead of doing an S hook, you'd probably want to do just like a C shape with like little scrolls on the end. They're really nice. But yeah, it'd be so cool. And so yeah, I've made a few brooches. Most of them weren't actually out of steel. They were like sterling silver brooches, but I did have a spring steel pin on the back, and I forged that, and I retempered it. I think they're called troll crosses. They might be. I just know that they were designed to hold cloaks together, kind of like the pins that the Lord of the Rings people had on their cloaks. They had like the little leaves. That's a much more elaborate design, but there's a few that have just like C shapes, and then they have like little scrolls on the end. So cool. Some of the things that some of those simple things that we can make and get started with. I'd like to do some of those eventually. And we probably will do a few like smaller projects like that, just to kind of break up some of the bigger stuff so that we aren't, spending too long just on really long projects. We have an ad coming in about 3 minutes, and that gives me just enough time to kind of set up our swage block. So that's probably what we'll do. Ordinarily, I have my swage block that sits behind the door over there. I kind of usually put my tools for lighting the forge over there. I consider the hairpins my S-hook practice. Just close loops and bent. Yeah. So let's see if I can't. I already unburied it, but let's see if I can get it to come over here. So this is my swage block. We're going to put it right behind our anvil. And as you can see here, there are some V grooves at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the widest V groove, because that's going to create the least amount of friction and damage to the piece. And once we get the right angle off of that, we're going to go to a smaller and smaller V. And I think they're all right, but I think it'll work. I think it'll work out for us. We just want that smaller V. So hopefully this will work for us. Let me kind of change the camera, like the close-up camera to it, so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing and stuff with it. Get a nice, good view. If I go up. You might be able to see it a little bit easier. All right, cool. That should work. Am I seeing the camera in there? Nah, it doesn't look like we can see the camera. Okay, the ad should be starting within the next 30 seconds. So we're gonna wait until that ad is done before we start working on this swage block. So I'm pretty excited about this. There is a few areas that there are a couple, like, I don't know, little areas on the swage block that aren't as smooth as I'd like them to be, but I think it'll be all right. So hopefully we'll be able to make a really nice teardrop shaped piece. So we've got plenty of heat. Now we're just waiting on the ad. I guess we're already in the ad. We got about 45 seconds left. So let's see. Yeah, there's quite a few like Viking projects or like little tiny projects that I'd like to take a look at. One of the bigger Viking projects that I think would be really cool to make is a Viking anvil. I'd really like to do that. It's kind of, for me, it seems more like a hardy tool than really anything else. But I think it would be really fun to be able to do that. Have you seen the Christ-centered Ironworks video where Roy forges a small 8-pound swage block? I don't think I've seen that one. I've seen a few of his videos, but they don't get recommended to me very often. I need to subscribe to his channel. He was really nice to talk to us, and so I really need to get subscribed to his channel. All right, it looks like the ad is over, so we are going to do a heat. Hopefully you guys can see all right. Hopefully it'll work out for us. I did see Roy's review of a miniature swage block. Whoa. See if I can't pick this up. Ooh, it's kind of moving on us, so it's not straight anymore. I gotta be careful about that. Is it turning into a... I think it's gonna take us a little bit in order to make this happen. It is also a little bit high for me. All right, we are going to get a little bit more heat. You can see that we are starting to get rid of those corners. And so yeah, maybe we'll come over here and kind of straighten that up a little bit so it's not bent or as bent the next heat. All right, so my swage block seems to be walking a bit. I'll put a link in Discord. Awesome. Just in time for the SmackDown. Exactly, yes. So we are currently working with my swage block. And I don't actually work with it very often. So we're kind of going to be like learning how to use it almost. So I want to start with the biggest groove in here. and we're going to work down and down and down until we get the size of the point that we want. But our end goal is to create a teardrop shaped profile for our X drift. So far, we've gotten rid of some of the corners on that bottom area. And so it's going to take a few heats to take on the shape of that point, but this is how we're gonna end up doing it. So I'm hoping that it works for us. Like I said, the swage block's kind of shimmying and moving, so I'm thinking about what might be a good way to kind of keep it from moving on us as we're hammering, because nothing's worse than having your anvil dance around, because then it's no longer in focus, you know. Looks like it actually is in focus. It didn't look like it was in focus at first, but yeah. So welcome to the stream. We are, like I said, we are starting to put the point in to our drift. And I need to squish in a whole bunch of material. This guy is a little bit high for me. Normally I run my anvils incredibly high because I'm kind of short, but most of the guys that I learned from were much taller. So normally when you're trying to create a stand for your anvil, you kind of want to be able to rest your hammer on the face of the anvil and have it be like a straight arm. I actually have to bend my arm because that's where I'm more comfortable with, I guess. So this is like super high for me to like hammer directly on. So we're not getting quite as much power on our swing, so we're gonna have to figure out if there's or how to make up for that. It might take us a few extra heats. All right, let's try this again. And let me know if you guys can't see very well. It looks like you should be able to, but you know, I'm not honestly looking very much at, you know, while I'm hammering. For our next heat, I think we're going to come over to the anvil and kind of straighten that out again. But you can kind of start seeing that there actually is a point that is starting to form. We haven't made it all the way through to the bottom of the groove yet, but we're working on it, and it's happening slowly but surely. So that's probably what we're going to end up doing most of our stream today, is trying to get it to work. All right, I have a giant piece of steel right here, and if I kick it over, maybe it will make it a little bit more difficult for this thing to run around on me. Hopefully I don't end up tripping on it. That might actually be an issue. I don't know. We'll see what we can make happen. But I mean, making triangular forged objects isn't the easiest thing in the world to do to begin with. Time to bolt the thing down. Well, I would totally bolt the thing down, but Right now I have it right behind my anvil, and if I bolted this down, then I wouldn't be able to use my anvil properly. Now would I? I wanted to make it kind of mobile, but I do think that it would have worked a lot better if I did bolt it down. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I think I just want to keep that over there. We are actually going to be generating quite a lot of scale, so I need to keep the brush handy, but not where it's going to fall all over the place and cause problems. So maybe if I move the swage block all the way to the side, it won't move quite as much. See, my problem is that when I made this stand, I kind of made two orientations for it. I made a vertical orientation and I made a horizontal orientation for this side, but I don't have any end-to-end orientation. So I've got this sitting in the groove for the vertical orientation, but it's got a lot of play for side to side, and that's not helping. We are actually losing some of the kinetic energy that would be necessary to shove this piece into that groove by the swage block moving across the floor and in its holder. So we're gonna continue figuring out what the best way to do this is. Hopefully we learn it sooner than later, though. We got heat. Looks like we do. Let's do another heat and see if this solution works all right. Not too bad. We're getting a little bit of a rounding there, and we are losing a lot of material to squish. Let's see how much we've actually lost. Let me grab a tape measure real fast if I can find one. Is it over there? What did I do with my tape measure? Oh, it's on the floor. Goodness. So when I started, the tip of this was 1 inch. So we've lost about 1/8 of an inch, it looks like. We're getting there. I think we're gonna make it. But you can kind of see, or I can kind of see down there that you can. It hasn't reached the bottom yet, but it's getting there. Like I said, I've left myself a 1/2 inch of play in hopes of reaching the bottom of this, and we might end up having to squish it on the, or like, we might have to re-squish it so that we'll get a little bit more play in the end. That probably didn't make much sense. I'm sorry, guys. I'll try to say again. So the wide side, I left myself a 1/2 inch of play so that we could hammer it directly into the corner that we're trying to create for our teardrop shape, that point. So there is a chance that we'll have to go back on the anvil on the skinny side and reacquire some of the thickness because we are compressing the material. It's starting to get thicker, and I want it to go longer and not thicker. It seems to be working though. You're upsetting instead of stretching it. Right now, I'm kind of upsetting it, but mostly because, okay, so right now I'm trying to get the point at the bottom for the teardrop shape, right? So I don't really want to, angle it in the groove. So that becomes an upset as opposed to, because if I'm doing a taper, oftentimes I will tilt up the bar so that it creates more of a taper and it'll lengthen more. So right now I'm doing a flat hammer blow on a flat surface. So oftentimes that is an upset. So instead of compressing, it's just moving the material horizontally. Ahoy! Hey Nimbits! Welcome to the stream. We are currently attempting to create the point of our teardrop shape for our axe drift. So the difference between a hammer hole and an axe hole is that you want a teardrop shape for an axe hole and you want an oval shape for a hammer hole. So right now what we're trying to do is acquire that point on the teardrop. So we are using the right angle swage to kind of help us along. Let's see. Let's do another heat. I think I'm going to do one more heat on this one, and then we're going to move to a smaller area. Because we're not going all the way down into that groove. We're going to need to go over here so that we've got a little bit more space for the hammer. You can see that it's almost to the top there. All right. Let's get some more heat. I think actually what I want to do is do a little bit on the face of the anvil. Posted a link to an ad I found for farrier's tools. Not sure how much crossover there is to general blacksmithing on the tools, on the Discord in general, I think. Oh, cool. There is actually a decent amount of crossover. Not completely, because they oftentimes will use different shaped anvils and tongs. But occasionally you'll find some really good tools in there. They also have quite a few like lubrications and like fluxes that oftentimes that, you know, they're better than a lot of the stuff that I usually think of. So yeah, thank you. We can find some pretty cool stuff there. There's probably some good hammers and stuff that you can use as well. I am going to move our swage block out of the way over here a little bit. And that way I'll be able to use the face of the anvil. Now I'm going to move the camera again. All right, so we've got a little bit of warping from there's a little bit of mushrooming that's happening at the top of our swage, so I just want to hammer that back down. We're going to gain a little bit of length I want to be careful that we don't hammer so much that we lose the start of that point that we've already got going, but we're going to need to kind of control the mushrooming that's currently happening. Yeah, he sold the forge and the anvil separately, so it's all hammers, tongs, and rasps. Yeah, rasps can be really, really good too. Oftentimes, they work really well for small scale, like hooks and things like that. If you got to get like a little bit of material off of something, the rasps work a little awesome. Also, you can make like chef's knives and stuff from a farrier's rasp. Those are really good. It's high carbon steel. Oftentimes, most people will use like used ones for that. But if if you're looking for a unique look, you can use a farrier's rasp for things like that. But yeah, so it's been a week so far. Um, Not amazingly good, not terrible either. I kind of feel like it's just on the good side of so. I feel like some weeks are like that. You just gotta kind of live through them and hope that the next week will be better, and the next day sometimes. Just keep on keeping on. All right, let's see. We'll do another heat. Whoop, it's gonna fall. Because it will. All right. Speaking of farrier tools, I am gonna find my farrier tongs because those will probably work pretty well for this. What we're doing here. So we've got the corner there and the corner there that are starting to come off of here. So maybe if we do, we might be able to work a little bit on this edge specifically. Let me try that. But we'll get some more heat first. I kind of want to straighten everything up. It's starting to curve just a hair. I kind of feel like I'm working on this by the seat of my pants a little bit. It's just, I guess I've never made an axe strip like this before, so I have an idea of how it should function, but I'm not entirely 100% confident about the method that I'm using. But we'll get it done. We will definitely get it done. So like I said, we are going to be making an axe, probably starting Friday, maybe Monday. I'm not sure if we're going to finish this today or not. There is a good chance that because I said that we were going to finish it today, that we won't finish it today. Because I'm really bad at estimating how much time things are going to take me. Evening, Sandwich. Welcome to the stream. We are currently working on the tip of, or I guess the tip of the teardrop shape that we are trying to get for our axe drift. I started out by using the swage block. I have 3 right angle grooves on the end of my swage block. And so we started by using the biggest one to kind of start that point, and we started thickening it out. So right now what we're trying to do is hammer it back to the thickness that we're looking for without destroying the point that we already created. So it's kind of going to be a balance of making sure that we maintain our consistent thickness without destroying that point. All right, let's do another heat. We're going to do this on the anvil face again. And we'll see if we can manage this. All right. So by hammering on the edge of the anvil, I can use a glancing blow off that edge, and it will create more of that point that we need. So from here, we're going to go back to the swage block. We've kind of got a little bit of a curve right there. I want to take that out. So we're going to continue working on this. More heat. And we are also gaining more length doing this. Carrie always says overalls are evil. I guess teardrops are even more, or ovals are evil. I guess teardrops are even more evil, I guess. I would say so, right? Because, you know, it's the whole trying to make a square into a triangle on, you know, with by hammering on the faces. You are much more likely to get right angles and squares or rectangles than triangles. So it's really difficult. All right, got the swage block out again. We've got an ad in about 3 minutes. So I'm going to reorient our close-up cam so that we'll be able to kind of see what's going on with it. We're going to bring it over here this time. We'll see if that'll work. Can you guys see it? I don't think so. Round is symmetric in all directions. Ovals are only symmetric on 2 axes, and a teardrop is only symmetric in 1 axis, I think. That is definitely the case, right? So you can cut, or if you've got an oval like so, you can cut it this way, and it'll be symmetrical. But if you cut it this way, it will be completely asymmetrical. You'll have like, you know, a curve, a C shape, and then a triangle. So we're going to try and manage it anyway. It's going to be challenging, but we're up for that challenge. I think it'll be all right. As long as our swage block doesn't decide to like walk all over the floor with me. And it'll be like a dance. We can dance with the swage block. So our ad should be starting in the next minute. So once that ad is over, I will do our next heat here on the swage block. Hopefully you guys will be able to see what I'm doing. I've got the camera over here instead of over here. So it might end up that my hand is in the way of the view. And if that's the case, please let me know. Because I can always move the camera someplace else. I've got a pretty bird's eye, or like not a bird's eye view necessarily, but a higher view because the swage block is a lot higher than the anvil. So I feel like it's also got the little grooves, and I don't want to like lose the piece inside them. Dancing with the block sounds like a song from the 80s. It kind of does, you know? It reminds me of like dancing in the street though. If you go with dancing with the block, it's like, you know, the entire neighborhood maybe, instead of with just your own street. It could be fun, it could be fun. Let's see. So we were working on the biggest groove. I think we're gonna move over to the middle groove. We've got a good start to our point. I want to continue pushing this material down inside. The depth of the larger groove makes it a little bit harder to get all the way down in there. So I think if we can make it all the way over to the small one, we will definitely get all the way to the bottom and have our nice sharp point. I'm also a little bit concerned. There's a little tag right here that I don't want to punch into our piece over and over again. We are also going to need to continue working in the center of the groove once we get further down the length of our, what is it called? Our drift. Wow. My brain is a little bit off today, I think. I'm trying, I promise. I'm trying. Thank you for bearing with me, everybody. It is super cool out today. Like it's, you know, in the, I think it's in the 60s. So I'm not sweating at all. I don't even have the fan on. Band name Ray and the Swage Blocks. That would be a good band name. Low battery CPU in sleep mode. Something like that. That's my brain right now. Low battery sleep mode. All right. Let's come over here. So we've got quite the curve going on right now. So we're going to do our next heat over on the anvil to kind of correct that. Again, we're getting a much closer to a point on this end as well. And here at the tip, we're already to the point where we're going to start having trouble hammering the piece into this groove. So we'll have to start over here at the smallest groove. Last night was nice for forging, upper 40s. Yeah, like I said, it is super nice today. I'm not even sweating. I'm just kind of like vibing, I feel like, right now. I don't even have the fan on. So like if I were to actually take off my headphones and like the sound canceling headphones, it would, or I guess the sound canceling on or noise deadening uh, on our microphones, it wouldn't be that bad until we start hammering specifically on the anvil or the swage block. So we're only using them for this part. Sweating time is definitely over here. Rather jacket and heating time. Autumn is here. See, here in the Midwest of the United States, I feel like it goes through cycles, like both in the spring and in the fall. It's like you think that the next season has turned, and then it gets super, super the previous season. So, like, for a while, I thought that we were well into spring back in the middle of September. And then it got super hot again, and it was all the way up into like the 80s Fahrenheit. And that was kind of ridiculous. And now it's cooling off again. So I'm pretty happy. Spring is actually my very favorite time to forge, to be out here in the shop. The reason I'm not a big fan of fall is that I feel like fall is just, I don't know. It's still a little bit hot for me, and I also like my allergies are like I don't get allergies in the spring, I get them in the fall. Since when can you read chat from over there? New glasses or new display? So back when we did the forge welding for the axe, I added a secondary monitor to my setup, right? And for the longest time, I was just duplicating the laptop monitor. And the reason we did it initially is so that the butler could kind of see what was going on, and so could I. So the butler was behind the screen and I was in front of it, so we needed to be able to see both to see what was going on. Well, I remembered that I don't have to duplicate my screen. So what I did was I took the giant screen and I put chat and my activity feed over there. So now I can blow it up as big as I want and I can read it. Isn't that neat? It's one of those things where I feel like it was a really dumb thing to like not be able to think of a lot earlier. But yes, I can now see chat from behind the anvil, and unless somebody new comes in with a purple name, I can't, for whatever reason, because I use dark mode, I can't always tell who is like coming into chat. Like I can't always read the purple names. I know the shape of your name though, Sandwich, so you're relatively easy. But new people come in and I don't recognize the shape of your name yet. So purple is hard to see for whatever reason. Woo did the thing. And really I swear it isn't because I'm that blind, it's because I have a film light, like a bright 1,000-watt light bulb right there, and the light I'm just like kind of looking at, and the glare in my glasses makes everything a little bit weird, and like there's like a halo over everything. So it makes it hard to read. That's my excuse. All right, let's do another heat. So we shall see how well this works for us. I've got another trick up my sleeve for next week. Kind of improve. Hopefully it'll work. Alright. So we're going to come over here like so. And I know I'm kind of like curling it by doing that, but I'm also kind of trying to help that point along a little bit. All right. So we've got the width this direction that we want. We've got the width this direction that we want. Now we're just working on that point. I want to make that real nice and crisp. We've got some lines that are still there I want to get rid of. So we're going to use the swage block to do that. The halo is from my holy chat. Maybe it is. You guys are like, you know, so amazing that you just radiate holy energy. Toss that there, and we're gonna go back to the swage block. I love the halo you've got there, Sandwich. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully this works all right. Can you guys see that? You can't. I'm so proud I found a place that you guys can't see, but it's really in my way. Greetings, Ping. A bit more and you won't need a forge anymore. I know, right? All I have to do is hold the metal over to the screen, and then you guys, with your radiant holy energy, will be able to heat it for me. Oh, I'm out of water. Give me just 1 sec. I'm going to refill my water cup. So I kind of feel like we're going to get a lot of different shots today when I pull down all this footage, because we're doing 1 heat on the swage and 1 heat on the anvil face. And we're just alternating, because every time I use the swage, we end up curving the piece. And so I kind of have to like straighten it out after every heat on the swage. So I don't know. I can't seem to focus on the swage and the face of the anvil at the same time. So, you know, we're going to get lots and lots of different views. It'll be all right, though. It'll make it very entertaining editing. Okay, let's do another heat. Entertaining. I don't know if you guys know, but I have a little bit of ADHD going on. Okay, so we're starting to twist the piece a little bit, but we've got a nice like point going on here. So I need to kind of clean it up a little bit too. But like I said, we're doing about every other heat in, or you know, between the swage and the anvil face. I think we're really close. Same. Hey there, Nate. Hey there, Not Hubby. Welcome to the stream. Ooh, the swage block is starting to get hot. It's not like really hot, but I can definitely feel it's warm on when it like leans against my apron. If the base of the block flexes like this, does that do, or what does that do to impact the hammer? So when the base flexes like this and when it moves across the area, I am actually losing kinetic energy to that movement. So we're not getting as much force as we could possibly get from this swage block, but this is the best solution for holding the swage block that I have right now. Maybe in the future we'll be able to get it a little bit more tight and tied down like our regular anvil. We have a lot more kinetic energy going into the piece with the anvil the way it is because it doesn't shimmy nearly as much as the swage block does. Do those little hot sparks ever jump up and bite you when you're hammering? Yes, they do. A lot of times I get mini burns all over my hands up and down when there's like scale all over the anvil face or whatever. A lot of times I don't react because it's happened so many times that I don't feel it as much anymore. I posted up some pics of my stuff on the Discord. Awesome. I always appreciate that. Yes. There was quite a few pieces that were posted yesterday. Absolutely gorgeous pieces. There was a Damascus letter opener was that a brass handle? It looked like. Those are your pieces, right? I could be wrong, but I think those were your pieces. Not shubby. All right, let me move the camera view a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on there. Focus. Gold leaf handle. Okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was gold leaf or if it was brass or something else, but it was absolutely gorgeous. I also loved your, they were fireplace grates. I think they were like trees or shaped like trees. Those were gorgeous. I love I want to call them cold connections because they're not really, because in jewelry and silversmithing they would be considered cold connections, but they're like, I guess, rivets and wraps and things like that. Those were absolutely gorgeous and so skillful. I haven't really put much of my own work on the Discord. Some of my, you guys get to see like the stuff that I do while we're here on the stream, but I have a lot of actually like relatively intricate pieces that some of them are up on my Facebook page, but I don't have them on my Discord. So I don't know, maybe I should post them. I was thinking about doing that yesterday when I saw your pieces. I don't think they're quite as skillful though. I'm still learning on some of this stuff. Let's do another heat. Post it. I should post it. I'll have to find the good pictures, the originals. All right. So we've got some pretty sharp corners happening. So what I'm trying to do is get rid of those sharp corners, but also kind of not disturb our point. I think I'm going to do one more heat here on the face of the anvil. Like I said, I'm really trying to get rid of all of those sharp points on the edges. We only want one sharp point on this guy. We're starting to get it. It's starting to form. We want it to be a little bit sharper though. We all start somewhere. The candelabra was my most intricate piece to date. I mean, it looks like it's one of your more intricate pieces. There are so many pieces like that you have to forge individually. So when I do something like large and very intricate with lots of different pieces like that, I kind of draw it out on like a large piece of paper or the floor or something so that I can compare the pieces as I'm making them. Is that what you do? It's a pretty good method, especially if you're working, if you're trying to compare things while they're hot. Because then, if you have a piece of paper, you try and compare your hot metal to the piece of paper and then it starts burning. But I like to have a really empty area all over my floor, and then I can draw the entire design out on the floor and then compare my hot pieces there. Make sure that I've got them tight and the curves and shapes are exactly the way I want them to be. So I freehanded it. I didn't even have a layout table in my shop. Wow, that is super duper impressive. Like the way they all fit together like that. And I mean, I swear that you've got, or I could have sworn that you were drawing things with like the, what do you call it? The perfect curve in mind, Because like nature's got that perfect curve and it's like that conch shell like curl. And your piece looks so similar to that curve. I could have sworn for sure you had designed it specifically. All right, we've got enough heat, so we're going to do another heat on the face of the anvil. All right. We're getting there. I'm actually pretty happy with this right now. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to take this and we're going to heat up this middle section and we're going to start putting that point in there. If you look at this, we've kind of got ourselves our lovely teardrop shape. It's not quite as sharp and precise as I was looking for initially, but I think that we can fix what we need to with a grinder if we have to. We got to dress it anyway. All right, so back to the swage block. Like I said, we're going to start working on the middle section of the piece. Whoops, losing my tongs and stuff. So we're going to start here in the middle V group, and then we're going to work probably to the middle one, or like the mid-size one. I don't think we're actually going to have to go all the way over to the smallest section of this, just the big and the medium, because we're at that mid-tier section, so we're really trying to taper it, make it a good drift. Let me move the camera so you guys can see what's going on. Or I can tangle up the legs in the cables. That's good too. All right. Okay. Waiting on that middle to get a good heat on it so that we can get a good start on that teardrop. I'm pretty happy with the size and shape of it. We're actually getting a lot more length than we initially had. Like I said, and that is because we left ourselves a half inch so that we could kind of have enough play that we could hammer it directly into the swage block without losing the width that we really wanted. I think the Drifters has already been used as a brand name, unfortunately. Yep, 70s. I think so too. But I mean, there's also like the concept of drifters as like homeless people that kind of like move around and stuff. More in like the cowboy days, I feel like, than modern times. But I feel like, you know, if you're thinking van lifers, that's kind of what I imagine that they, you know, they're kind of drifters where they move around in their van and sightsee and things like that. All right, so we've got an ad coming up in about 3 minutes. So I want to do one more heat before that ad starts. So we're going to see if we can't finish it before that heat. Wait, am I doing this on the right side? I am not. I'm a dummy. All right. Once again, we're getting kind of an upward drift, or I guess a curve. So I'm gonna need to, and that's really because we are compressing the area right here and expanding the area up here, and that kind of automatically starts curving it. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do every other heat on the swage block and the anvil, and we're gonna continue that trend. I'm actually pretty super excited. Well, not pretty super excited. I am super excited that this is actually working out the way I thought it was going to. So, like I knew that I was going to use the swage block to get the start for the V groove on that tier. And when I was a jeweler, I learned that if you were going to put a hammer texture on a ring, you needed to size it about a half of a size smaller than your client wanted that ring to be, because as you put that hammer texture on, you are going to be expanding the size of that ring. And so that, with that in mind, I figured that I would try leaving a half inch of extra play, or at least some extra play, so that when I hammer directly down, when it compresses, it'll become the shape that I'm looking for. And it seems to be working beautifully. I'm very excited about that. Getting a lot longer now too, which is really exciting because it was kind of on the short side. I was a little bit afraid that I would have or I would have to use tongs to hold it or something like that, because I was afraid that, you know, it would, if it was so short, then I wouldn't be able to grab a hold of it when I was trying to work on the sides. Hey Mahalo, welcome to the stream. We are currently working on creating the point for our teardrop profile. We have about a third of it already pretty decent. Not perfect, but good enough that we can finish it off with an angle grinder or, you know, a bench grinder while we are dressing the piece. So I'm pretty excited, and we are continuing with the middle third. I haven't decided yet what we're going to do with the last third. I think it really depends on how big everything ends up in the end. We may end up having to kind of draw out the end to give ourselves a little bit of a handhold, or we might end up continuing with that teardrop shape. I haven't quite decided what I want to do yet with it. We shall see what I feel like the best course of action is for this. But it's looking like we should be able to finish it for the most part today. Because we've only been doing this for like an hour and a half, I think. Yeah, an hour and a half. So we have, or we're in the middle of an ad, it looks like. And once this ad is over, we're going to come back over to the anvil face. We're going to do another heat and see what happens. Did I actually refocus the camera? I did not. Let's do that real fast. Okay. We're good. Ooh, I'm tripping over a sledgehammer. Oh, goodness. Okay, so our ad is over, so let us take a little bit of time here on the face of the anvil. We'll probably do one heat, maybe two here on the face of the anvil, trying to kind of get rid of a curve that's starting to form and make sure that we take out the mushrooming that has been occurring. So let's try it. All right. We're getting it. it's starting. I think we're going to go back to the swage block again. Like I said, we got to continue this line in here. It looks like we've actually started it a little bit twisted. So I want to correct that before it becomes more of an issue. Hey, Jack. Welcome to the stream. That Firefox ad could almost make it into the pun section. Allies was due. Well, everything you really need, browse. I feel like puns and stuff and jokes in other languages don't quite hit when you translate them. I don't know. Maybe I'll just have to learn Belgian and German and Spanish, you know? That way I'll be able to get them all. I feel like Spanish would be relatively easy as a language to learn for me because I do have a little bit of a background in it. I had some college courses in Spanish, but I feel like German and some of the Slavic languages might be a little bit more difficult, or like the Belgian and Swiss and stuff. Those languages, I think that would be a little bit more difficult for me to learn. Bubba, 137478. Hey, how are you doing today, Ray? And everybody, I'm doing amazing. At this point, today did not start off amazingly great, but once I got out here and started forging and started talking to you guys, my day got so much better. I think I'm pretty happy now. I've been a little bit on the depressed side recently because my YouTube isn't promoting my videos. So yesterday's video, they only showed it to like 70 people. So it just wasn't even in like people's For You pages. They weren't even testing the waters of it. So it was a little depressing, but now I'm here and you guys are here and I'm having a lot of fun. It kind of is and kind of isn't. Seems like they try fighting that development by ads. Maybe. Hello? What is that? Paleontologist Va. Paleontologist Va. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. Let me look closer. Paleontologist VA. Hello. Welcome to the stream. So sorry to hear that, hun. I hope it works out for you soon. I mean, ordinarily, my videos get a pretty decent amount of like engagement and viewership. So it's just really depressing when the algorithm just doesn't pick up your video. Imagine seeing a Netscape ad in 2025. Oh, did you guys know that at the beginning of this month they finally shut down the AOL internet? So you could still use AOL, like the AOL that you had the discs for, dial-up. They discontinued that this month. That is so crazy. I thought they would have disconnected that like forever ago, but it came as a notification on my Google. My computer has like these random notifications or whatever, and that was one of them. And I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. But yes. Hello, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Today we are continuing to work on our axe eye drift. And so what I'm talking about is this is a hammer, but if I had an axe, it's a tool to poke this hole right here. So the difference between a hammer eye and an axe eye is that a hammer eye is an oval and an axe eye is a teardrop shape. So we are currently trying to get the point on the teardrop, and it's being a little bit of a butt. It's being a little difficult, but we're making it. It's working on us, or for us, and so it's just slow going. You got mail. Now I feel old. I actually still use Firefox. Has become a bit more buggy, although, like my test, desperate try to give, or not to give just all my data to Google without even trying. Yeah, I also use Chrome, Corwin, because I mean, every time I use Google anyway, it's like collecting data. So, and I mean, I use Google as a search engine like for almost everything. So it's just more convenient. I know I'm lazy, and I guess I'm just giving my information to them for free, and they can make money off of it. I'm hoping that eventually I can also make money off of it, though. All right, we're gonna do one more heat here on the face of the anvil, and then we're gonna go back to the swage block and continue working on trying to put that V groove, or working on the V groove, trying to put that point in there. I use my iPhone for everything. I don't have a computer. A lot of people don't have computers anymore. I know. I even use an Android phone, so Google knows pretty much everything anyway, but still. I mean, I understand. It's totally the principle, You don't want to just give it out for free, if you can help it. Alright, so now we've got a bulge sticking out here a little bit, and that's because I've kind of been giving myself an angled blow. So now we've got a nice belly that we're going to be able to straighten up in the swage block, in hopes that we're, able to shove it back in and also make that a point. So let's see if we can do that. Trying really hard to kind of fix the curve that's happening, but also not get rid of the point that we're starting to develop. It's like a fish. I feel like it's kind of like a fish. I have a Google phone even, better than Apple. See, I used to have a Google phone, but Google phones, I got to this point where there was a couple applications that I feel like are like essential for my life that they didn't have on the Google phone. They only have them on the Android and Apple. And I can't use Apple devices. I don't know. They're just too fancy for me. Jack, I believe in this. I believe in it too. iPhone forever. So when we got my laptop for the stream, like the new one that I got a couple months back, we had actually considered getting an Apple an Apple. Is it a MacBook? Yes, a MacBook Air at one point, and I was a little bit kind of on the fence about it because I haven't used an Apple computer since I was in grade school. By the time I was in like junior high and high school, we had my school had started to use all PCs. So I feel like I'm so out of the loop with Apple products. And I mean, I did use an iPhone when I used to work at Lowe's because their inventory system is all based on iPhones. So I got to use that a little bit, but I wasn't like an inventory person. I was a cashier, so I barely used their little platform. So I just feel a little uncomfortable with it. I know it's like supposed to be easier and less clunky than Android. I don't know. I want an iPhone due to Samsung supply issues in 2021. There are a lot of Samsung supply issues. And I feel like here in the United States, it's only going to get worse. All right, so I need to do my next heat here on the swage block. So I need to re-aim my camera real fast. But yeah, I do. I think that it's going to be a little bit harder for us to get Android, well, I guess Samsung specifically phones. All right. I was on the edge of switching to iPhone due to the update supply, but Samsung promised 5 years of security updates just in time for me to stick with it. And up to now, they are holding up to it. Recently, I got an update for my 2020 phone. Wow. That is an old phone. See, I have a tendency to I'll use my phone until I can no longer use it, but I'm also the person that drops their phone and shatters the screen the first week they get it. So the last phone, when I got this phone, the reason I had to get it is because we got a Little Caesars pizza, and I went to the park to eat it. And the wind was blowing the flap from the pizza box up, and I thought that putting my phone on the pizza box as a weight would keep it down. And you know what? That wind was so strong that it picked up the box lid and flung my phone like 10 feet away, and the screen shattered and I couldn't use it at all. I have an iPhone 12, but I haven't updated the OS in a while. Yeah, I mean, the Butler has both an iPhone and an Android. The Android is the personal phone, and then the iPhone is the business phone. So 2 phones. I think that would drive me nuts. Let's do another heat. Can you guys see? Yes, you can. That's the swage block right there. Yes, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Ah! Shoot. And I pinched my finger. We're gonna go over here. Come on. Whoa, that is super, super curved now. I'm going to have to fix that. Definitely going to have to fix that. Let's get us some more heat so we can do that. Definitely like a fish. Today, regular security updates are essential. If you do not get or install updates, the thing becomes an increasing security risk, especially if you also use payment functions and stuff. I don't actually use payment functions on my phone. I don't trust my phone I don't even have a credit card number in my phone. Like, I didn't trust it enough to keep my concert tickets on the, I think it was the Ticketmaster website. It's like, I don't want to use this. I had to because that's the only way to get into the concert, but I didn't want to. Credit card transactions are for the big pewters, not the little pewters. I have an iPhone 14 Plus, and I just got an earth-shattering update a couple of nights ago. It changed everything on the phone. Ugh. See, I would hate that. I love having everything the same on my phone over time, or over and over, because then I don't lose my applications and stuff. I don't want to lose my applications. I have them where they are for a reason, and if I lose them, then I'll start opening the wrong application. All right, let's see. I think what we're gonna do, because there is a incredibly large bowing on this particular that we're creating. So I think instead of using the big hammer, I think that I'm gonna put this over here, and we're actually going to use the rawhide mallet so that I can hammer directly on where I want the point to come in without marring that point. So we're going to use our rawhide mallet. This is a non-marring mallet, so you can't really forge. It's perfect for this function, you know, straightening pieces and stuff like that. All right, let's see if we can do this. Fingers crossed this works the way I want it to. All right, it's working. Awesome. It's exactly what I wanted to do. All right, we're going to do another heat because I want to kind of shape this a little bit more. I want to continue that point, and then I also want to take off some of these really hard edges. So you look down it, and you can kind of see that it's a little bit of a teardrop shape already. That's really exciting for me. Oh, trust me, I want everything all the same all the time. This update has caused me to have to download things and move everything around. Like I get to, or to try and get it like it was. It's a lot though. I mean, I can imagine. Man, I can imagine. Be so annoying. It's like every time I get a new PC, right? You got to go through all of the like Windows startup stuff, and you know they ask you all the same questions over and over again, and you know every time you get a new OS, everything is like it's just a little bit different, but it's so similar that you start doing random funky things because you think you know what you're doing and you really don't. It's like so similar, or I guess so different, that it's dangerous, you know? Just different enough. Yeah. If you use Linux, you can just put the old drive in the new computer and start it. One of the advantages. I mean, I like Linux as a whole. I do. And I used to work with a system that was a Red Hat Linux. My main issue with Linux though is that I am an avid gamer, right? I love gaming, and most like AAA games and the ones that I want to play only function for Windows or Mac. So that means that I have to go and find an emulator, and I have to make sure that the emulator is compatible with the game, and it becomes a whole big thing. And so I just, you know, Windows. I'm not saying that those of you who do use Linux are, you know, wrong. Linux is great. It's just too much effort for me. High-end ones, yes. Hi, you are near the coast. Oh, are you near the coast? I heard another storm is coming. I'm actually in the Midwest. of the United States. So I am within an hour of St. Louis, Missouri, but I'm on the Illinois side. So I live near the Mississippi River, but I do not live near any of the coast. So I don't have to worry about the hurricanes most of the time. Oftentimes the hurricanes do bring bad weather, but most of the time it's not like super bad weather, if that makes sense. Hey Bluesy, welcome to the stream. How was your teaching today? Did you disconnect the brake line for the students and have them figure out what was wrong? I can usually get most older games working under Linux easier than trying to get them working under Windows. Well, older games, it's really hard to get an older game working on Windows. In general, a lot of times you still have to get an emulator, but oftentimes I'm playing like the latest and greatest games, or some of the more high intensive games. Like I play a lot of MMOs, and then I also play like Baldur's Gate and some more of the RPGs. That's my favorite game genre, is like MMOs and RPGs. Steam does a lot of the work for you most of the time. Some games officially run on Linux, and by setting the checkbox, yes, I understand this is not guaranteed to work, many more run just out of the box. Not all, admittedly. All right. Okay, why did I think you were in North Carolina? I don't know. Yeah, I live in Illinois, just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. And it's kind of weird to think that you could be within an hour of St. Louis while still being in Illinois. But yeah, that's kind of the area that I'm in. They call it the Metro East. We are a suburb of St. Louis. All right, let's do another heat. All right, we're gonna focus on this section here because there's like a random like fixed spot there. And I don't think it's necessarily bad per se, but it is kind of making the drift a little bit cattywampus. I am gonna take a measurement here. All right, it's about the width that we want, but we also want to this side to be a smooth transition, and it's not yet. So I think we might actually do another heat here on the anvil with the rawhide mallet. That's what I'm trying to say. The rawhide mallet. Let's see. I missed a couple things. Calling someplace an hour ago or away is a suburb is a very American thing. to do from a European perspective. I agree, but experience shows that most people just expect exact to the letter. Depends on the city you're talking about. London, Paris, sure. An hour by car in traffic jams. So about 3 minutes by foot in traffic jams. So it is about an hour by car. But I mean, like I said, I'm within an hour of St. Louis, but the Butler works on the opposite side of St. Louis. So the Butler often does an hour and a half to 2 hour commute. It is insane. But I mean, it's where the work is, you know? So I guess, you know, we could be a suburb, maybe we aren't technically, but, you know, we can kind of consider ourselves a suburb. That was my association to the word as well. Rollin', keeping them doggies rolling through the streams are swollen rawhide. Yes. A rawhide mallet. This guy. I want to kind of move the material so it's more straight. Right now we've got a nice straight spine, and there is a taper on the teardrop, like the point that we're trying to make. So I want to straighten it out so that there's a taper all the way along it. Say what you have. Okay. So we are currently on an ad. Once that ad is over, I will do my next heat. Why do people tend to say XX hours away when asked how far things are? Why don't we say XX miles or XX kilometers or kilometers? I've always been found that fascinating. Seems to be a thing on Twitch. The Butler is the streamer's partner. I didn't give the Butler that that moniker. You guys did. Yes. So yeah, I'll address that a little bit later once the ad is over. So we've got about a half an hour left. I think we're really close to being done with this thing. I think a lot of it can be done with or by cleaning it up on the grinder. Yep. But yeah. Whew. Starting to get a little bit tired, a little bit winded. But yeah. So I did not give my partner the moniker the Butler. You guys did. And you guys have actually seen my partner. Last Friday's stream, I think, no, it wasn't last Friday. Oh, it was like the Saturday stream. You guys actually saw the Butler attempting to crack a whip. So yes, the Butler has a head, a full body, and you guys have seen it. You could check out the VOD, it's there. So I think Dr. Optimal, I think the reason that we say so many hours is that we, traffic. So you could actually say something is like 5 miles away, but it'll still take you like 10 to 15 minutes to get there, based on traffic. So an estimate is kind of like including traffic and stuff. I saw the Butler no longer able to hide in anonymity. Breaking the sound barrier. Because the time it takes is practically more relevant thing. 20 kilometers, okay. On the highway or through a small street, 30 minutes. That's what it takes, no matter how far it is. I mean, something like that, But yeah, I used to work at a place that it was 30 minutes away when there wasn't rush hour traffic and an hour and a half away when there was rush hour traffic. So I always had to protect, I had to get there on time. So I had to leave an hour and a half early. So I would have, if there wasn't any traffic, I'd have an hour to kill at the end. So I don't know. All right, let's do another heat now that the ad is over. It would be nice if I was able to actually like hold this without it moving on me. All right, well, we're going to bring out the swage block again. We should be able to even that out with that. But yeah. Like I said, there's still kind of a little bit of a belly in there. We want to fix that. And you're back. Welcome back, Nimbits. Welcome back. In Chicago, we always said directions in minutes instead of miles. I think this is a lot less common here, or not unheard of. Where I used to live, it was an hour into central London, 20 miles, or an hour away from London was 60 miles. Yeah. It's kind of like, so I used to actually work for, before I started streaming, I worked for DoorDash, which is like, food delivery service like Uber Eats, or I think there's several other places or like companies where you order your food through your phone or through the application, and then people will deliver it for you. Anyway, I used to work for one of those, and they would give you the amount of miles away something was, right? And so you'd get this job, and they paid you by the mile, so it was like 50 cents a mile. And you get these jobs, and they're like, oh, it's 5 miles away, right? And then so they'd only give you like $2.50, $3 for it. And it turned out that it would take you like 30 minutes to get there because it was like some roundabout way. And I'm like, dude, pay me for the extra miles and the extra time. Are things okay there? Heard weird stuff on the news. I don't live there anymore, but yeah, it's a little crazy there. Chicago? Yeah, there are some weird stuff going on in Chicago right now. Normally, a lot of people think that Chicago is like really, really scary, but it's not. If you know, or like if you go into like the touristy areas, or like the people, or the places that people would want to go, it's pretty safe. And even if you wander into some of the less safe areas, as long as you mind your own business, nobody's going to bother you. I mean, occasionally you might find somebody who's really desperate, and they might do something, but not any worse than any other city. And honestly, I think that people oftentimes blow like the danger in Chicago out of proportion. Because I mean, nobody talks about how dangerous St. Louis is, but St. Louis and Chicago are like very close together in the most dangerous cities in America. Like, I think St. Louis is higher than Chicago right now. And everybody wants to say that Chicago is so dangerous. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Now, I can't tell you now because of what's going on there right now. But ordinarily, it's not that dangerous. I never felt endangered when I was in Chicago. Neither have I. Like, there was a couple times where, you know, I knew that there were some people and they were doing some shady things and I needed to walk on the other side of the road. But as long as I did that, they didn't bother me. Yes, Corwin, that is correct. However, I'm going to stop you there because we don't do politics and we don't do religion in here. I want this to be a sanctuary for positivity and just blacksmithing and, you know, just so we can get away from all of the bad that may or may not be happening for you. So, yes, that. However, yeah, I was avoiding that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I'm gonna do my next heat. Oh wait, but first, let me take a selfie. Except no, sorry, a little bit of chain smokers there. I'm gonna refocus my swage block so that you guys can see what's going on. Okay. No religion, no politics, no dwarf tossing. I didn't say anything about dwarf tossing. I am an elf household, not a dwarf household. So if you want to toss dwarves, just don't toss them at me. We're getting a lot of curving again, so we're going to have to fix that. But I think overall it's all right. I think we're doing all right. So we've gained quite a lot of length, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see. How am I going to straighten that? Well, I guess we're just going to use the rawhide mallet again. So we'll get some more heat. We'll get some more heat. I was in Chicago and I got blown away. It's windy. It is so windy in Chicago. Like, seriously, it is. It's really windy. Criminal Minds. But yeah, I mean, my family used to vacation in Chicago all the time, you know? And one time, my mom picked the wrong hotel. And we got there, and there was someone involved in illicit activities in the parking lot. On the edge of the parking lot, and you know, we were, you know, as long as we ignored them, we were safe. We were fine. No, just coming off the water. Oh, criminal winds. Yeah. Yeah, because Lake Michigan, there's so much wind coming off of Lake Michigan. So much wind. The bad part about these rawhide mallets, I mean, we've been using them and it's been beautiful. It's been uncurling this drift. The bad thing is that it smells like burning hair. Because it's made of chitin, which is the same stuff that your hair is made out of, and it's so bad. It's such a bad smell. All right, let's do another. Wait. Did I refocus? Did I refocus, guys? Did I refocus? I did not. You know what? One of these days. One of these days I'm going to remember. Actually, one of these days, what's going to happen is you guys are going to be like, what the heck, Ray? What the heck? You did not refocus the camera, and now we can't even see anything. All right. Uncurling the drift has a nice hair to it. Yes. Is Ray tall enough not to be a dwarf? Oh my goodness. Do not tell me I am that short. I am 5'5". I am 1 inch shorter than the average height for a female. Don't toss the streamer. Yeah, I am only 1 inch shorter than average. You are taller than average, yes, for the US. I'm just kidding. You're taller than my wife. You are a giant. Am I? With my boots on, I'm 5'6". Well, that worked so well, Ray. So well. Now we've got kind of like a weird squiggly going on. You can see that smoke. That is the hair smell coming off of this thing. All right, well, we're gonna have to do another heat with this because we've kind of got like a little snaky curve going on now. I want to correct that as best as I possibly can. Short jokes are always low-hanging fruit. Definitely a Levin Smith or Aragon. Now in New Zealand or the Netherlands, you would be short though. I would be. I would. I used to be 5'2" with my boots, but that was 57 years ago. That is 1.65 centimeters. That's not tall, but indeed it's not so small for a for female. Oh, meters. I was gonna say 1.65 centimeters is like, ooh, like this big. Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty small. 165 centimeters. See, that seems a little bit more reasonable. You had me thinking for a second that maybe I had Thumbelina in my chat or like one of the borrowers. Honey, I shrunk the Ray. Yeah. It's all right though. 1,650 millimeters. Yep. Ooh, what is that word? Or what is that? That is a symbol that I don't think I have seen except in math. Oh, micro? Is it? Nanometers. You can wear a hammer. You can wear hammer boots and just jump on the piece. Maybe. It depends on how much you weigh, you know? Which number do you like? Whichever one you want to use. It's good. It's all good. All right, let's do another heat. Practice your trap dancing and blacksmithing all in one boo. All right, you know what I would kill for right now? Well, I wouldn't really kill for it. That's a blatant lie. I would not kill for it because you know why? That would be kind of bad. I'm not that, or you know, I'm not that vindictive. All in all. Anyway, the thing that I would be very grateful for right now, that's where I'm gonna go with that. What I would be very grateful for is actually a piece of wood. And I have a piece of wood down on the floor, or you know, my anvil stand is wood, but I don't think I want to use that. All right, we're gonna find a piece of wood. Hey, I already found a piece of wood. Let's see. This may or may not work the way I want it to. Steel-toed tap boots. Yes, this is pine. It's not the greatest wood for what I'm going to do, but I have the rawhide mallet. But what I need to do is I kind of need to hammer into something that's gonna burn for me, right? So the pine wood should burn pretty easily. We might be able to get a groove so that we can bend that up this way. I like to state that when doing any kind of handicraft does not happen often. I try to keep tolerances below 0.01 meters. Some people are impressed shortly. My door is wood. Yeah, my door is wood, but I don't really want to burn a hole in my door. I'm going to try and straighten this drift on this piece of wood. So I'm thinking that we might actually have to spend a little bit of time on Friday on this. So, do you guys want to watch me dress this? That would be using the angle grinder and the bench grinder to kind of get all the scale off of this. And it's kind of like just dressing it so that it's nice and shiny and it'll be a proper drift. Would you guys like to see that? Because we could do that. That's probably the best thing that way it also gives me a little bit of time to work on getting the axe, the piece of steel that I'm going to use for the axe a little bit cleaner and stuff. Okay, paper, but hey, dress it with a hat and a skirt. Yes, dress it with a hat and a skirt. Okay, so when a blacksmith says dress, what they really mean is cleaning any rust or scale off of a piece and kind of making it nice and shiny and workable. But yeah, I need to do I can do maybe 1 or 2 more heats. But then we're starting to get pretty late, so I'm gonna have to end the stream here shortly. So we'll work a little bit more on this, and then maybe I'll use the angle grinder and stuff. Left and right hand coordination. All right, let's make sure one more time that this wood is in focus. Yeah, it looks like it is. All right, 2 more heats because I got a couple things I need to do. And I'm getting a little tired. All right. Whew. That also happens, and that's not pleasant to get in your eyeballs. You know, the smoke from this. All right. I think we're going to be all right. We'll do 1 more heat. That back in there. Woohoo! Smoke. Y'all saw that fire, right? It's going up about yay big. But this stuff, it doesn't actually stay on fire really long term unless you just set it down and just let it start. As long as I kept pulling this up it wasn't going to stay on fire. Why does the wood help? Is it softer than the anvil? So what I was trying to do is use the wood to kind of like burn in the wood so that I could kind of get a divot burned in there. And then that would have allowed us to straighten it a little bit. It wasn't working. I think it's too thin of wood. I was a little bit too afraid to go too terribly much deeper. So if I had a stump, I would have gone a little bit further with that. Oftentimes, before I had a swage block, I would actually use the wood of my anvil stand to kind of shape my leaves and things. A fire mode or a fire made mold, so to speak. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was doing. I was trying to make a good mold so that we can kind of move the piece over. I think what's actually going to end up happening is on Friday, we're going to take it over to the post vise and we're going to use the post vise to straighten it out. But I just don't think I can do that right this second. So this will be our last heat and then we will be raiding off. If there's anybody that you guys would like to raid to or to watch, let me know, please. Otherwise, we'll probably raid to one of our friends or maybe make a new friend. Interestingly, grammar of German and English seems to have been much closer back in the day. It definitely was, you know, because English is a Germanic language, but like it's more similar to other things now. Or it's really different now. I mean, oh, I don't want this hammer. I want this hammer. Because what I'm trying to do is make the transition a little bit more even. That way it's less abrupt. All right. So I think that's all she wrote for now. We are going to fix this curve in the post vise on Friday, and then we will start dressing it. Got a little bit more finessing to do, and then we'll be done. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm going to snooze this ad. They both originated from the same languages, diets, and no, it's not Ray. In this case, Dresden has en, which is basically still the infinitive ending of verbs in German. The kids' English is even different from us millennials. Yep. All right. Dutch is about a mix between English and German with some French and Spanish thrown in. Oh, and some Roman, which I guess Roman would definitely be like the Latin. Hey guys, I totally updated it at the end of the screen. I'm so proud of myself. All of our new subscribers are on here. So thank you guys so much for joining me. And have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I will see you on Friday. Let's see, who do we got today? We're going to do Mr. Boombody today, I think. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.